That's why a hush has fallen over this world-class size crowd. To Father Barron's point, Father, as a Catholic myself, I've heard from people of all faiths, including fellow Catholics these last few days, people saying some form or other of, well, the Catholics do this well.
I think that's true. And again, it's not just a superficial thing, but it's part of our sacramental imagination that we think the physical can speak the spiritual. And then the more beautiful we can arrange things physically, that can speak more profoundly of spiritual beauty. So that is a very ancient tradition that's been preserved within Catholicism, and it's no more clearly on display than right here.
Well, this is the moment. We just passed exactly 1 hour. They're up against no time limit at all, self-enforced, just tradition. It's been on either side of an hour these last few popes of the modern era, from the first glimpse of white smoke to those doors opening and the announcement coming. We see another shadow of a figure behind the curtain.
And you know, Brian, they have to change into the white cassock. And they have 3 of them, as you know, and they're hopefully one of them close to the size that's right. And so they might be involved in that right now, too.
George, I was just going to ask George Weigel for one more update of what we're going to hear in what language and a quick translation before we hear it.
Cardinal Jean-Louis Thuram will come out and say, Annuncio vobis gaudium magnum. I announce to you news of great joy. Habemus Papam. We have a pope. Crowd will go crazy. And they don't give the cardinal's name in Latin. And after the name is given and the crowd goes crazy again, he will say, Qui sibi nomen imposuit, who has taken upon himself the name, and then we will hear the Pope's new name in Latin. It's one of the nice remnants of the older parts of the church. We were talking here the other day about how at Catholic events around the world, like World Youth Days, when you have 1 million, 2 million young people meeting with the Pope, as they will with the new Pope in Brazil later this summer, there's been a little bit of a rediscovery of Latin as a kind of universal language of the church, at least for some parts of our worship. So it's fitting that the new Pope be announced in the ancient language of Rome, of which he is in fact the bishop, as of the moment when he said in that chapel, accepto, I accept.
And for American viewers just joining us, we're just outside an hour since first word. Rome is 5 hours ahead of the East Coast these days. It is a cold night. Thankfully, the rain that fell on the city most of the afternoon and evening hours appears to have stopped. It is in the mid-40s, but a damp cold. That does not seem to bother a crowd that goes on as far as the eye can see. And some of them will be at the mercy of loudspeakers and big screen televisions. The lights have gone on, and we see now a figure coming to the curtain. This is the moment, it appears. The figure you'll be seeing again is not the new Pope, but the Cardinal making the announcement. We will be silent for all this except for the first members of our broadcast team to shout out the name as translated from Latin as soon as we are sure who it is. So we will, as soon as they open those double doors.
knows your hobbies. God knows your hobbies. God knows mine. Signum ad grandissimum Dominum Georgium Marium, Sancte Romane Ecclesiae Cardinalem Bergoglio.
Bergoglio.
Qui sibi nomen
Francisco.
Your Eminence?
I know him very well, and I like him very much. And we
What
have
is his
a lot
name
of things.
for those of us who missed it?
Cardinal Bergoglio.
Yes.
He's the Cardinal Archbishop in Argentina, and he is a wonderful man. I think he's about 70 years old, and I think you might be interested to know, Brian, that I sent him a couple of the Metropolitan Opera recordings. He's a great follower of our opera here in New York, and I always say, when are you going to come and stay with me, and we'll see something here in New York? He's a wonderful gentleman, and did you notice the name is Francis? I don't know if there's ever been a Francis. That will be Francis the First. And he is the Cardinal Archbishop of Buenos Aires, and I'm very happy to say he was very helpful to me.
El Papa es de Argentina, Papa.
2001. And that was.
Te estoy llamando porque sí, el de Argentina. Creo que eso es lo que acabas de.
And Cardinal Sodano appointed him to take my place to finish out the synod. And I know him very well. I like him very much. And
Parece que sí, se me pararon, pero la primera que pensé fue en ti. Está, nena, está buenísimo.
I could not be more delighted.
Oh my God.
A very quick review from Cardinal Egan to George
Yo no sé,
Weigel.
está-
George, your initial reaction?
I met Cardinal Bergoglio in May last year, Brian. We spent an hour together in
What?
Buenos Aires on a
No.
wide-ranging conversation.
No, sí salió en
Church in
NBC,
Latin
dijeron.
America. He is very much a man
En NBC sí, acaban de poner.
We talked about the necessity
Elected
of
Pope Cardinal Jorge Mario Bergoglio, elected Argentina elected Pope.
He's played a significant role in affecting that kind of
Yeah,
so
anyway.
understanding, in the Latin American church. He's a very brave
Esa, nena, hubiéramos estado esta semana, chica. Bueno, vámonos. Bye, un beso, cuídate.
It's
Richard, bye.
Freedom around the world. He's the first pope who is a member of the Society of Jesus, a Jesuit. So there's another first for us tonight. He's a strong man, a man who has, Cardinal Egan was talking about someone who can put up with criticism. Cardinal Bergoglio put up with a lot of criticism from his brother Jesuits for many years. So he's strong that way. He was, of course, the runner-up the last time. A man who had drawn a lot of respect in the previous conclave. So the papacy has moved to the New World, and the church has a new pope with a new name, Francis I, which I think speaks to the church's commitment to the poor of the world, to compassion in a world that often needs a lot of healing.
Latin America has indeed its first pope. According to our briefing materials here, the new pope, Pope Francis, is 76 years of age. It is interesting that in one of the briefing notes from an analyst that I have in front of me, part of what we've been preparing for days on all eventualities, I'm reading the sentence, he is now probably too old to again be a serious contender for the papacy. But it talks about his support, especially among liberal cardinals. It talks about his support for the poor. It talks about his standing within the Jesuit community. It even mentions his diploma in chemistry. So a man of varied interest, probably as close to a polymath as the occupation can get. Given the amount of his life given over to service to God. But echoing what George Weigel just said, In what I'm reading, it says his fame has been affected by reports of his role during the military dictatorship that ruled